A podcast designed to help you build the foundation of a powerful real estate career. Join real estate experts Ricardo Bueno, Marketing Technology Director at West, Dustin Stevie, CEO of Lighthouse Escrow, and Scott May, partner at Bywise Mortgage and founder of Find My Way Home, as they bring you real-world strategies, marketing ideas, and solutions straight from the trench.
3, 2, 1.
Nobody dabbed. Ricardo, you're that. Why didn't you dab?
Dap. I don't know what a dap is. Welcome to the Marketing Trench podcast. As you can see, we're doing something a little bit different this week to comply with social distancing. We have socially distanced ourselves across Orange County, and we're doing this live. So this week, we're going to talk about a highly relevant subject. This one might not be quite as evergreen as some of our other podcasts, but we're going to talk about the subject of how do you do sales and marketing in an environment like we're in right now, where you've got social distancing, maybe there's a full-on lockdown. How do you make the most of this time? The temptation, I think, for me and for many others is to get into a scarcity mindset, right? We start focusing on all the things we can't do. We can't go to movie theaters. We can't dine in at restaurants. We can't be near people in any kind of large group setting. Maybe we've had to cancel parties or whatever else is going on. It's really easy to pay attention to the can'ts, because the can'ts are the things that are broadcast in the news. The can'ts are the things that are brought to our attention by everyone who's sharing the same thing on Facebook or Instagram. What can you do? Well, it turns out there's a lot you can do. Ricardo gave a seminar on it. Scott has also joined in and talked about this quite a bit. And so today, what I'm going to be doing with these guys is we're just going to be talking about all the things you can do and how you do them. So we're going to talk at a high level, like what you should be aiming at. And then we're also going to try and flesh out what sorts of tools can you use? What sorts of technology is available out there? How do you use it? Right now might be a really great opportunity for content creation for lots of reasons. So we're going to dive into all of that. Ricardo, Scott, how you guys doing, man?
With these guys is we're just talking about all
we're doing good, man. Lockdown, baby. We actually self-quarantined our office earlier this week. So I've been home all week, and now it's official, I guess. We all are supposed to stay home, except for Dustin.
Yeah, we constitute an essential business, so we're actually still open. But I have my sales guys at home. I have a number of the assistants doing what they can from where they can do it. So we're trying to accommodate, But yeah, I mean, we're still going.
Yeah, same for us. What I love is, a lot of companies are enacting remote work policies and social distancing and all of that, and the leadership here has instructed all of us and has been supporting us, putting our safety and the safety of our employees first. So that feels pretty good. But yeah, for me, I've been working from home for, half, if not more of my career. So it's not much of an adjustment, but it's definitely an adjustment for a lot of people.
Well, this whole thing is hitting our industry in sort of a unique way. And that's why I think it's important that we have this conversation. All of us have a lot of connections in our industry. We play leadership roles in our industry in real estate and mortgage and escrow, or just in the space in general. And it's real easy. This reminds me so much of 2007, 2008, that it's not even funny for a lot of different reasons. And that's kind of the conversation that I wanted to have today is really what does this thing mean, and what do you do with your time? Because in 2007, being a mortgage broker, at the time, every single night on the news, just like you're hearing coronavirus news today, we were hearing mortgage brokers are the root of all evil and they destroyed the entire economy. So in a sense, we found ourselves in a position where we had more time than we had business to do. And I think that's something that a lot of folks out there are feeling right now, is they want to be busy. They probably are busy. In reality, they probably have clients, they have transactions, they have listings, they have people that are in escrow, and maybe a bunch of them are falling out right now. because things are weird right now. The biggest difference between, I think, what we're experiencing today and what we experienced 12 years ago now is, by all apparent signs, this is temporary, but it's hard, and it's
Right.
going to be hard. And when I say temporary, I mean what I'm hearing that I generally buy into is this thing should peak sometime in April. And once we get the tests out there and we kind of get on top of this, but for crying out loud, America is the greatest country in the entire world. We have so much innovation. We're a wealthy country. If anybody's going to get on top of this thing and get it stopped fast, it's going to be us. But other countries around the world are getting on top of this too. I don't know what we can trust coming out of China, but they're business as usual. South Korea seems to be a little bit business as usual. There's still some countries out there that are struggling, but in times like this, I really wanted to have this conversation with you guys about controlling what we can control when it seems like the entire world is falling apart around you, or when there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We can't do anything about interest rates. We can't do anything about the spread of the virus. We can't do anything about how our politicians react to it. But what we absolutely can do is we can control the things that we can control. Again, for me, this reminds me of the big market crash, and 12 years ago. So here's my little silver lining story that I'm actually kind of excited about being in this position again, in sort of a sick way. But in 2008, I learned WordPress, and I learned how to blog, and I started writing articles to educate and empower consumers and homeowners about home ownership. And over the last 10 years, so I started that in 2007, over the last 10 years, I've had over 10,000 people a month come to that website every single month for over a decade. I've helped over 1.2 million people that have come to that website. So I guess what I'm saying here is right now we have more time than we probably have options, right? So what are the things that we can do today? What are the things that people should be focusing on in their business today that's going to exponentially benefit your recovery on the other side of this, whether it's 6 months from today, whether it's a skill that you learn that's going to benefit you in 1, 3, 5, 10 years from today? What kind of things can we be focusing on?
Okay, so let's talk about that. So how do you, in these times, identify things that you can be focusing on? What's a good place to start?
CRM. That's what I'm working on. I'm working on my customer journey. I'm working on building out my CRM. I'm working on tightening up the systems, implementing the automation, and really, and there's some new tech that I want to learn. I want to learn how to do video better. I want to learn Google AdWords.
Why
right?
are you choosing to focus on, because you're throwing out a lot of stuff. I understand why you choose to focus on the CRM because it's a fundamental tool, but like, why are you choosing the other tools that you're choosing here?
Well, if I wasn't me, and if you are not familiar with Facebook marketing, I would tell you to start learning Facebook marketing right now, because attention is at an absolute surplus. We're all online. We're all on Facebook trying to learn things. Myself and several people that I know that do a lot of Facebook marketing are saying that the costs and the conversion, the costs are lower right now to do online marketing than they've been in almost 10 years. That's because I heard today Amazon stopped doing Facebook marketing. So all the big players have pulled all their money out of these marketing platforms. So it's a lot easier for guys like us to go in there. And what I'm focusing, all of the things that we're focusing on right now are designed to build our marketing lists. So interest rates are incredibly low. they should be a lot lower, but because of all this chaos, they're not quite there yet. But when we recover on the other side of this thing, interest rates are still going to be low for a really long time. There are going to be people that are out there wanting to buy homes. Just because you can't buy a home in the next 90 days doesn't mean that I can't get you on a list of people that want to buy a home so that I can keep you informed and updated every step of the way. And then when it's time to get into the market, you have the ability to jump into the market right away.
Yeah. So you're focused on some list building. You're focused on learning tools that will help you get in front of all the people who are mass scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, and those key platforms. You're focused on your CRM because, again, that's a long-term investment. If you can dial that in, it's going to really empower you to regularly communicate with your clients, build your reputation, do all the things we talk about with the 4 Control framework. And so for you, as you're looking at the world of possible things, right? Like right now, for example, I think about all of the classes that are available free online because of this pandemic and all the services are trying to, capture attention. As you're looking at the world of possible classes you could take, possible things you could learn, ways to make the best use of your time, Scott, it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is I'm focused on long game stuff. And so for me, long game stuff is video in your specific case, like learning how to do video better. Is that accurate? Is that a good way of kind of framing it?
It's the things that the learning curve was a little bit more challenging than I had time to learn initially. So there are some things that I kind of got into it, like YouTube marketing, YouTube pay-per-click. And I started looking at it and I'm like, wow, this is kind of complex and I'm super busy. I know just enough to not know what I'm doing. So it's always been on the back burner. I've got I think Ricardo just did a webinar earlier this morning, and I want him to share some of the things that he and Stacy talked about. It was super, super valuable. Some great ideas, some great communication tools. I just lost my train of thought.
Actually, this is probably a good time. Ricardo, let's hand it off to you for a second. So Scott's talking about things that have, like a high learning curve that you might not have time for in the rush, especially given how busy things have been up to this point. What are you looking at, Ricardo? And when you're talking with agents, doing your remote meetings, what do you think that is most important for them? How can you maybe help them to rank order opportunities, all that sort of stuff?
So I think that right now, for sure, there's a little bit of panic. Open houses are canceled. It's tough to meet with buyers. And, what I been telling people since I think last week, Thursday, Friday, last week, and then especially driving that message home on Monday and Tuesday is we really have sort of 2 options into how we view this. We can sit back, absorb the news and go down the rabbit hole of the doom and gloom, reading all these articles on what's going on. And that's bad. That's so incredibly bad. Or we can initiate and pivot and adapt to kind of the rapidly changing environment. I think that the priority should be your customers and how you are conversing with your customers. It's not the time to ghost any of your customers. And I think it's the time to be especially careful about how you present yourself. You don't want to come off as opportunistic. I look on Twitter, and I've even seen it in my ad stream, just companies that are being grossly opportunistic, and it's a bad look. It's a really bad look. But I think you need to be present about how you're communicating with your clients. It's funny. I think realtors are being forced to do some of the things that maybe we've been harping on or teaching for the longest time, like learning video, using tools like Zoom, et cetera, et cetera. And the funny thing is they're being forced to do it. And what they're recognizing is, hey, this actually isn't so difficult. I think I can do this. It's not easy. It's challenging. But I guess where I would start is I would start with your own pipeline. How are your customers feeling? Converse with them, discuss what their pain points are, where they are right now in the process, and then listen to how they want to proceed or how they want to move forward. And then the secondary thing is, adapt to the changing landscape and start to leverage some of these video conferencing tools. Just because you can't get face to face with somebody doesn't mean you can't do a listing presentation virtually. It doesn't mean you can't sign electronic documents electronically using DocuSign. Like, it doesn't mean you can't do any of those things. You just have to pivot and leverage technology to do it for the time being.
Well, and even, Ricardo, if we find ourselves in a position where, we very well may find ourselves in the next couple of weeks, is there may not be any transactions for us to work on. Like, you're not going to have inspectors, you're not going to have appraisers being able to go out. People aren't going to want to do open houses.
Well, so Redfin and Zillow, everyone, they halted all of their iBuyer programs. So yeah, you're right.
And they also stopped spending money on Facebook advertising. So here's a perfect example, because we've talked a couple of episodes about digital mayorism, right? And about being the voice of your community.
Digital what?
Now imagine.
Because I seem to recall calling it mayorism and receiving a little bit of
No, you called it digital mayorism, and we wanted to just call it mayorism. I didn't want to embarrass you.
Oh, I see.
So I call it digital mayorism. So this technology that we're using right now is called BeLive.tv, BeLive.tv. It's simply a software platform. It's a third-party software platform that allows you to broadcast live. You can record locally. You can broadcast live to YouTube or to Facebook. Imagine if Ricardo was a physician at a local hospital or a local nurse. And I called up Ricardo online, and because I already have a community and I already have connection with the community, maybe I start interviewing some of these people to get news out to the community, and I try to put as much of a positive spin on it as I can, because quite frankly, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So if this doesn't kill you, you are inevitably going to be stronger on the other side of this. So what can we do as professionals, as individuals, and as responsible members of our community to help advance that, bringing positivity into this whole thing, or because listen, there's a lot of people, we're a little bit different, at least me in the mortgage space, but the real estate space, we have to watch this news all day long. We have to watch the financial news. Most people probably don't want to, or they're not listening to it, but all they're seeing is the ticker that's saying how many cases and how many deaths across the country, right? Let's go in there and talk about the opportunities that this is going to create. Because there will be opportunities on the other side of this. And this is, again, everybody has acknowledged that this is a temporary thing. What that means, we don't know. But again, I don't know how to, I don't know how to express enough that you were blessed with an opportunity to now make the investments in things that you were too busy to make investments in before.
Yeah,
it might just be your family.
Error to think of this as the new normal, and it would be a massive error to squander this opportunity by saying, "Well, I don't know what's going to come next, so I'm just going to not do anything." Right? Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it like I told you, we self-quarantined earlier this week. And it was hard for me for the first few days. I don't work at home. So it was really hard for me to get into a groove. And I was laughing because I heard Ricardo and Stacy on their podcast this morning talking about, once you get into the groove of working at home, you realize you have so much more time to work than you ever had before. If anything, you've got to stop and take breaks, because I just saved over an hour driving back and forth. Right. I saved all that time for people coming into my office and bugging me and talking about stuff. And now I'm starting to feel this sense of kind of motivation and kind of innovation. And now I'm starting to get a little excited about the fact that I have all this time because I don't have any other choice. Right. So I have all of this time to be able to focus on some of these harder things that I've wanted to learn, that I just haven't had time to do before.
So Scott, are you guys having is anyone right now, like clients, customers, panicked? What kind of conversations and dialogue are you having with them?
I don't talk to a lot of consumers directly, but yeah, there's a lot of explaining that we have to do, because we've got situations where we can't get appraisers out to properties. We've got a lot of situations. We've got many situations where we started talking to folks about basically taking advantage of truly historic low interest rates, and that lasted for about 2 hours, and then rates shot up. And so all the people that didn't get in their information, they didn't get all of their stuff to us in time, they're out of market now. Interest rates are a percent higher than they were 2 weeks ago, when the market hit its low, before we really knew how it was going to hit the financial system. So if you're in the market to buy a home, or if you're in the market to buy a home, if you're trying to refinance, take advantage of these rates, now is the time to get prepared. Start making your relationships, doing your shopping, talk to a bunch of different realtors. Don't just do business with the first one you talk to. Get all your stuff prepared, get ready now, because when the dam opens up on this thing, you want to be in a position to take advantage of it on the other side. So that's what I'm recommending. Is I'm saying you now have the time to do the things that you previously thought you didn't have time to do. Whether that's buy a new house, whether that's gather that paperwork to take advantage of historic low rates, or if it's learning something, right? Taking online classes, doing anything like that. Better yourself.
There's actually a lot of companies who are offering free membership to their learning platforms. I know Sharon Shravada, who the founder of Kingston Lane, sold Telus Properties to Douglas Elliman. I know his membership is about $200 a month. They're offering it for free through the end of I think this month, or through the end of April, I forget. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to kind of double down and learn the things that you've been putting off. You're kind of forced to.
I want to try and put some hooks into this now, because I feel like I really understand Scott's point that this is not a time to waste. This is not a time to sit on your hands. This is a time to better yourself. This is a time to, is Scott has said in a previous episode, and I think is a really good way of framing it. This is a time to use all the high brain juice stuff, because you're going to have a lot of spare brain juice now that you can't be doing the usual, and you're going to be at home, right? So you're going to be looking for things to do. So at a high level, I feel like we really have that. Now, what I want to do is I want to come up with some. Let's assume for a second that I'm the person who's sitting here and I'm like, guys, okay, cool. Like, I get it. All right, I don't want to waste this. Like, I want to maximize this time. How do I maximize it? What do I need to be doing? So we've talked about a couple things. So Scott had mentioned earlier about investing in some long-term stuff, right? Ricardo, can you kind of like summarize for me the advice you're giving if I'm this like person who doesn't want to waste the time? How do I not waste this time? Give me some tips. Give me some tricks. Give me some things to focus my gaze on.
Start carving out. You need a time block, and you need to buckle down and do the things that you've been putting off. I met with 3 realtors on Monday and Tuesday who just for the life of them have been putting off getting their database and their CRM set up and wrangled. You need to start doing the things that you've been putting off doing, and you either take action now, or as things are changing and you're either adapting or you're getting left behind. So you need to make it a part of your daily routine. I need to implement X, Y, and Z. If you're not, then I'm sorry, but you're really, really getting left behind.
Yeah. Okay. So some of the stuff you're putting off, that's a great list, because I already know stuff that I'm putting off because I've been putting it off for a while. So
I think we can honestly, I think we can all say that that's true.
Yeah.
There's stuff that I've been putting off, and this week has been, I've created more content this week than I have in a while. It feels good. I was telling Scott how motivating it feels and how good it feels. Like this is my zone. This is where I kind of like to be. But yeah, it's chaos for a lot of people. Just start to make a list of the things that you haven't been that you've been putting off, and just start voraciously executing on it. When you think about being of service to your customer, I think that right now, especially, sometimes being of service or bringing value has nothing to do with real estate. It literally right now can have absolutely nothing to do with real estate.
So if you were an agent and you wanted to bring value in a way that doesn't have anything to do with real estate, so you're not selling a home, you're not talking about some kind of listing coming up, you're not talking about home prices or rates, right? All the things that are industry specific. You want to bring some other kind of value, but you're stuck at home. What are some things of value that pop into your mind as things that people could potentially be bringing?
There was this post that I saw in Slack, not Slack, on Facebook, and it was, let me see if I can look it up because I thought it was super good. Right now, a lot of families are at home, right? Kids are out of school.
It's a great idea.
It's chaos for a lot of people because A, they've never worked from home.
Yeah.
And then B, they've
never had to spend so much time with their kids.
They never had to spend so much time with their kids. And so it's like, not only are they getting
We're not going to name Will Gray by name, but we see you watching, buddy.
But it's so true though, right? So hang on, I'm trying to find it. But anyway, they've never had to spend so much time with their kids. And then the school teachers are emailing them all of the assignments that they need to get done. And it's like, hold on. Slow the heck down. How the hell am I supposed to take care of my kids, manage my kids, do all of the things that I have to do in my day-to-day? And like, how the hell does anybody do this? How do you juggle these all of a sudden two massive responsibilities? You don't. It's hard. It's chaos.
Plus you have that person in your feed who is seemingly juggling those two things, and they're doing it perfectly. Like they're like, oh, well, I got a week, so I just taught my kid Mandarin. You're like, shut the hell up.
Well, and that's an important thing that you just brought up, Dustin, is if you're one of these people that figured out a way to not go insane being locked in your house, share that with other people that might be trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Right. So if you figured out a cool way to keep your kids distracted for 4 hours and it's not the TV, share that online and just say, hey, I wanted to reach out to the community.
Awesome, and my kids are awesome. And if you can't do this, it must be because you're not awesome and your kids probably aren't awesome. Right. Like,
hang on. I beg to differ.
Let's see the kid.
My kids are awesome.
I don't know your kid's name, by the way. I apologize.
That's Foxy.
Foxy.
I have fur babies.
By the way, side note for people who are watching, because we got some people watching, if you want to post some comments with questions you have or want us to kind of go in a direction with the conversation, feel free. We are watching the comments, so feel free to chime in.
Yeah, and I shared this on my personal wall, and it doesn't look like we're seeing comments if anybody's commenting. I'm not seeing them here. So if you're if you're watching this on my wall and you're making comments, you can go over to the Marketing Trench podcast group. It's an open group, and that's where we're taking questions or we can chat about this. But if you're commenting on my wall, I'll come back. I'll come back later and we'll circle back and we'll answer all of those things.
Yeah, Ricardo, did you find your post?
Yeah, so it was one of the things you could do now to help your local community restaurants is to put together a list of who's open and offering delivery. So, and it's a great way to get visibility through the community, help local businesses, and just kind of spread the word, right?
That's genius.
Yeah. So if you set up like a Google Sheets and multiple people can work on it at the same time, but you put the restaurant's name, the direct phone number, the hours, the delivery instructions, do you call in, do you use Uber Eats, whatever. You can even take initiative and call all the local restaurants and then update the sheet as you get more details. Give them your phone number so that they can call you and update you as needed. And then you share that list of local restaurants to your networks. I think that's something that has nothing to do with real estate, but that in a time like this delivers so much value.
Yeah. It also evidences local expertise.
Correct. Like 1,000%. So,
Yeah,
and it's not just stuff like that. It's like for a lot of the parents who are stay-at-home moms who are like, they're breaking down over how the hell do I manage all of this? What they're doing is they're crowdsourcing. This is the schedule I'm using with my kids. Scholastic is offering a free online learning through the end of the month, and then here are some other great online learning programs. I'm having them do those activities during this time. So morning helpers report for duty. You're going to help with breakfast, and then you're going to go learn in front of the TV, and then we're going to take a break. You're going to take the dogs out for a walk so that mom and dad can do, whatever activities. If you're not going to use any of like the online learning platforms, people are crowdsourcing all of the kinds of activities that you can do for those for while you're at home and while you're practicing social distancing. So it's like crowdsourcing all of that information. I emailed some of that information just that you can share it. But again, it's just being a resource. It's helping them through some of this chaos. And like I said, it doesn't have to all be about real estate.
Yeah, actually, so along those lines, I created a post earlier this week where I just said, hey, friends, do you know of any resources that are available for free this week that aren't normally free because of the pandemic? And I was surprised. I mean, people just kept adding and adding and adding to the list. So, I mean, like the Met in New York City is streaming operas for free. There was some great resources to free downloadable coloring books that you could print them out. There was, free online resources. One guy shared his YouTube playlist that he had cultivated of good like shows that, he felt like were better than what you might get if you put a kid in front of Netflix or something. It was really, really good stuff. And, when you open up, you just basically tee off and say to people, hey, let's come together and, build something together. People who are on Facebook, they're going to chime in on that kind of stuff, especially if it, it's designed to help people. It's not meant to be, overtly political or, doom and gloom and to kind of contribute to the overall chaos of the situation. Like if you're somebody who's standing out in the midst of the hurricane, saying, hey, let's, we're going to boldly face this thing and we're going to overcome, people are going to rally around you.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, the stores are completely empty. Some people stocked up more than others. There may be people in your community or your community Facebook group or something like that didn't stock up. Start communicating with your community and some family may run out of something that another family has. Swing it over there, drop it on their doorstep.
Sometimes Nextdoor is hit or miss in some communities I've experienced. It's been really cool to see the folks on Nextdoor stepping up in a big way.
Yeah. Support your community. Get in there, and you may have some elderly folks over there that really are not supposed to be out. They might need toilet paper. You can go and drop off a 12-pack of toilet paper on their front step and bail, right? And then they can go in there and do it. You talk about supporting local restaurants. I've been doing my best to try to order takeout and delivery from local restaurants. Because when you talk to the local restaurant owners, I mean, they're hurting. They're really, really suffering. I mean, I'm talking about 1, 2, 3 person, restaurants. There's a little small Mexican restaurant down the street from where I'm at. And we were talking to the owner and he's just like, it's been dead. But we're making an effort to try to order from him. I know like Postmates, DoorDash, they're doing free delivery now. And they're dropping it off on the doorstep, so they're not doing face-to-face. And there are a lot of really, really positive things. The market crash was not as big of a deal in these terms, but think about what the country was like after 9/11 and how it came together and how communities came together and people helped each other. This is a challenge on that scale. I mean, this is the time where we show really what the value of living in a free, connected community, free, connected world is. We're all closer together. We're all closer than we've ever been. through social media and digital marketing and things like that. Leverage that for the ultimate good. There's so many good things that you can do right now. It's lazy to focus on the negativity because you can't control it. You can't control the chaos. There's not a single thing you can do to change the trajectory of this virus. There's not a single thing I can do to change mortgage rates or the bond market or the stock market.
Right.
Not a single thing. Don't waste an ounce of energy on that. There's somebody out there right now that could use a phone call, right? Because they're feeling bad.
So I actually sent an email out to my sales team, which might be helpful for other trenchers who are listening or watching. So basically what I told my team is I said, look, this thing's going to unroll in three phases. And so here's how I recommend you go about doing your job in the next few weeks. So the first phase I call the pre-lockdown, pre-pandemic crest phase. And that's basically the phase we're in, right? So like we see the wave coming at us. Things are locking down. Last night, we got one of several new orders from Gavin Newsom saying, "Hey, stay home unless you have an essential business," et cetera, et cetera. And we see where this is going, right? We saw what happened in China. We saw what happened. What's happened in Italy. We've seen what happened in South Korea for a period of time. And so we're all just like hunkering down, and there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. And so what I told my team to do is I said, just call your current and prospective client, call your past client database, right? This is a really good time to remind them that you're around. Update them on the latest with how things are going in your industry. Maybe people really care about that. It's like, hey, listen, maybe you had a refinance going, or maybe you were in the process of selling with not me, but another agent. That's great. Let me just tell you what's happening in our industry so that you can sort of, level set your expectations a bit. And be optimistic. Like, take this encouraging and supportive tone. Just be like, yeah, look, it's hard. And some of you are, you're income insecure, which means you might also be food insecure. If you are, let me know. Like, I have access to resources. I know people. Tell me you don't have to do this in place. On your own. Excuse me. You don't have to do this on your own. You don't have to. You don't have to be isolated. I'm here for you, right? And then, take that tone over the next few weeks. The second phase is what I call the late lockdown pandemic crest phase, which is to say, in my opinion, it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks from now, which is just to say, all right, look, the wave has come. We're over it. We're on the downward slide of this wave. We're still locked down. Like, people it's not life back to normal yet, but, we looked at some other countries and we can already see like things are starting to come back to life in those places where they locked down kind of ahead of us. Call, check in. How did you do? Tell me some of your stories and genuinely listen to those stories, right? A great use of time. If you're not going to build out a whole bunch of infrastructure, if you're not going to learn anything new, a great use of your time is just to be a human to other humans, right? Just listen to people. They want to be heard. A lot of people just feel like they have nobody to talk to right now. And give them your time. Make sure that those people don't need anything urgently. And then ask them, what are you going to do to come out of this? Like, what's your plan, right? This is kind of a restart moment. A lot of things that maybe are calcified and not moving in your life, they're probably going to shake loose now because everything's shaking loose. What are you going to do to make some changes here, right? And how can I help you facilitate that? And then the third.
And do you need?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, and do you need help doing it?
Yeah.
A lot of us are highly networked, and we know a lot of people that do a lot of things. This is a great time to be a connector.
I had a guy reach out to me. I posted a post like this already on Facebook. Had a guy reach out to me. He's like, listen, my mom, she had lung cancer surgery, and she's stuck in Houston where she had the surgery. She had to fly out there to have it. I'm trying to get her back. I don't want her to be on an airline. Do you happen to know, like, it would just, my dream is that I can get her on a private jet on the way back. It's a long shot, but, I just want to put it out there. Well, I happen to know a guy who's a high ranking official at a private jet company. So, at John Wayne of all places. So I reached out to the guy. I'm like, hey man, like, what can we do? And so we're going back and forth, and, I don't know that we're going to be able to pull anything together at the moment. It kind of looks like it's not going to be an option, but who knows, right? Like, maybe something will come up. This guy now knows about it, or I can prevail upon him. Hey, let's figure something out. And we might be able to get this guy's mom home from Houston. real estate agents and a lot of us in this industry, right? Like we know a lot of people. We just go out and we meet people, right? So just put yourself out there, because people don't know who you know. They don't know what you're capable of. You feel like, man, I've got all this potential locked up. Well, don't be a secret, potential person. Put it out there, man. Put it out there. And the third phase is what I told my sales team is going to be the recovery phase. So the lockdowns are lifted. People are getting back to work. The restaurants, the gyms, everything's opening their doors, right? It's like kind of after a long winter storm, like everyone's opening up and airing the place out. People are still getting the virus, so there's still precautions in place. But like on the whole, like the optimism is now building. And Scott, to your point about what we were talking about earlier, things are going to move fast. Like when the recovery comes, it's going to come quicker than we expect it to come. And when that happens, if you spent the whole time just sitting there, just in your uncertainty, paralyzed by what's going to happen next, I don't know, and you weren't preparing for anything,
paralyzed by fear.
Yeah, paralyzed by fear. People are just going to run right past you. They're going to run right past you.
And here's the reality. Yes, there are some people being impacted by this, but the overwhelming majority of people, this will not impact you at all. Overwhelming majority of 330 million people in this country, we have a couple hundred deaths. That's not great, but it's everything that we're experiencing right now is fear of the unknown. We don't know what this is going to be. We don't know how this is going to impact the economy. Nothing has happened. Nobody flew planes into a building. This isn't an act of terrorism. This is an act of God. And quite frankly, it hasn't really even revealed itself. We are all reacting to what it might be or what it could be. But it's not a thing right now. All of this is fear of the unknown. It's just fear of the unknown. We don't know where this thing's going to be, how long it's going to last, and when it's going to end.
But when we do,
which almost everybody agrees is going to be sooner than later, I think we're going to see a V hockey stick type recovery. And Dustin being distracted me. But I think we're going to see a really quick recovery on this, and hopefully we all get to the other side of this thing, being better, being closer with our community, and just being better people on the other side of this, because that's what hardship creates. Hardship builds character.
So if you have time to like really kind of listen to people, be a servant to people, care about people, know their stories, you come to the recovery phase and you bring your A game and you're like, charge forward, let's do this. Like all guns are going, all systems firing, right? Like it's amazing. Again, people are going to
do you. Yeah, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And that was my entire strategy with my website. My website was, if I just share everything that I know for free and with no expectations of anything in return, people are going to want to go to the person who helped them through their situation. Yeah. And it happened. And it happens every single day. I answer questions from all over the country for people that are in the middle of loans and having problems, and we're getting a lot of crazy questions now, but that's all good karma, man. It's all good juju. Get it out there, and then and catch it back on the rebound.
I think just to kind of wrap it all up,
because my battery's getting ready to die. So we got to shut this thing down.
Plug that thing in. Okay, that's hilarious. Is there
luckily the power's still on.
Any final thoughts you guys want to contribute here to kind of give people a sense of confidence and ideas of how to use this time well?
We're here for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. No,
100%.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Make sure you are a part of groups and a part of a community, an online community that is supportive. If you're part of a Facebook group and there's a bunch of doomsdayers in there, don't log into that group. Find people that are positive. I just went into our trade association, the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. I went onto their private page that has tens of thousands of people, and I basically said, hey, listen, you guys all know I'm really good at these different technologies. Here's my Calendly link. If you want to talk about technology, if you want to learn this stuff, just schedule a time and I'll spend some time with you and I'll talk to you about it. And I just put that out in the open. I'm a little bit afraid to look at my calendar. I've seen a couple of them come through, but I don't necessarily have time to do it because, like I said, I'm excited about this, but it's the right thing to do. And anything that you can share and anything you can do for others, this is absolutely the time when you should be doing it. How about you, Dustin? What are you getting out of all this?
Well, it's exactly like what I said. So I actually am fundamentally optimistic, and I think that this is a really great time for a lot of new things to come to life. Like in our industry, for example, we're finally starting to shake free from some of these prohibitions against remote working. It's such a ridiculous prohibition. I mean, honest to God. And it doesn't move forward because the bureaucracy's calcified. Nobody cares. It takes an active legislature. But now, because we have a pandemic, right? Like they're having to bend and flex, and it's setting precedent. That's just one example. I could cite all kinds of examples across different industries that I've noticed. And I think right now is the time for people to get clear on who they are, what they're about, what opportunities. Once you know that, you take a look at what opportunities are coming to life, and seeds are being sown. It's like a fire burning through. Like a national forest or something else. It's terrible and devastating, but then whole new growth and whole new life comes back. And a lot of times it's richer than it was before. And so
there'll be a lot of innovation that comes out of this.
I think there's going to be a ton of innovation. And, if you do one or two of the things we mentioned here, put together that Google Doc, like that thing will be valuable even beyond the pandemic. Start creating videos where you're interviewing, local small business people and telling their stories and creating that content for your website. Listen to some of our previous podcasts where we talk about how, to create some of these micro websites, like missionviejaliving.com or something like that. In our case, we talked about this stuff. Go back, marketingtrench.fm. You can listen to those podcasts there. And, start doing it. Experiment. You got nothing else to do. If you find yourself watching Netflix or Disney Plus, what do you really like? Why wouldn't you just grab hold of this? It's an amazing opportunity. I get it. Like maybe you need a break. Take a couple days. Fine, take a break because it's been a crazy period of time. But don't just kick your feet up and be like, well, I'm going to wait for the world to come back and get me.
Yep.
And I think with that, I think that's probably a pretty good place to wrap up. Unless Ricardo, do you have anything else to add?
No, just yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Marketing Trench live. First time doing it live. So this has been the Marketing Trench podcast. If you want to contribute more thoughts and conversation, go to the Marketing Trench Facebook page, which is currently sharing this live stream right now. And if you're not a member, please join. We'd love to have you in there. We're going to be contributing more content in the coming months. If you want to listen to past episodes, marketingtrench.fm is where you can find that. Or you can go to your favorite podcast player, your favorite podcaster, and look up the Marketing Trench. We would really appreciate it if you went to Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts and gave us a review and left us a 5-star rating. Anything less than 5 stars, you can keep it to yourself. We don't care. But no, 5-star would be amazing. It helps get the word out. Share this episode with your friends. And until next time, this has been the Marketing Trench podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. We are stopping.